Mic check, mic check. Mic is good. Audio is good. We here again, back at it. Everybody see me good. Everybody hear me good. Nice. We live. Nice. Welcome everybody again. The Kingdom of Kings. First and foremost, call Allah Yahweh, Ba'ashim Mashiach Yahweh. All praises, honor, and glory to the Most High God and His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai in Paleo Hebrew, meaning He is deliverer, He is Savior. So back again, everybody. So we're going to actually get back at it to give you guys the business. As a matter of fact, give the whole world the business. And the whole point is here at Kingdom of Kings, as you already know, we are the true Israelites of the Bible. We are the people of the book without a shadow of a doubt. So what we're going to do here basically is make sure you guys get the right tools, the right weapons, get the right understanding, the right knowledge of who you are. So that way you can actually know where you're coming from. And actually, by knowing where you're coming from, you know where you're going. Our whole history has been there all along. And that's, for some, it's brand new. You actually get to the know now. And for some of you guys probably already know, or actually you thought of it, you were thinking about it, you heard of it from someone else and whatnot. And you were right. If that was the case, you were right, and you're on the right track. For those who just actually got into this understanding and just heard about it, so we are the people of the book. We are the chosen people of the Most High God, Yahweh. His name means He exists. He is eternal. And for those actually familiar with the channel by now, I had a couple of videos like on the curses, how to recognize us as Israelites. And why we call ourselves Israelites, because we actually descend from Jacob, who changed his name to Israel. And when you add the "ite" to anything, the suffix "ite" means you are a descendant of. So Israel was the name of our forefather, where we descend from, and we are all Israelites. And we also Hebrews, because we're coming from Eber, which is basically one of our forefathers also. And that's in the bloodline of Shem, which is a specific bloodline. So that's why we're Shemitic, and we're the chosen bloodline. And it's very specific. You actually, like, we'll get to this like on another lesson. But for today, I'm just going to follow up on the last video that we had regarding marriage and whatnot. So this one is the same thing. Like, actually, it's could be marriage part 2. But this one is more like axed on, what you call that? On polygyny. Not polygamy. Polygamy means multiple marriage. So like you could be married like 4 or 5 times in your lifetime. That's polygamy. So a man and a woman can be actually, you can call them like having a polygamy. Can be classified as a part of a polygamy. But when it comes to polygyny, so Polyjyny, polygyny, this is basically having multiple wives at the same time. You also have polyandry for men and whatnot, but polygyny is the one that is actually most accurate for what we're going to discuss today. And everybody wants to be black until you call the cups, and everybody believes in God until you start reading the Bible, right? So a lot of people, they say they believe in God and whatnot, and actually if you do believe in God and the God of that Bible, the information about that God is in that book. So some people, they will like to tell you they believe in God and give you, they make their own doctrine, they actually come out with their own rules and whatnot. You believe in God, you're right, you got that right, but you don't believe in that God, the God of the Bible, because that's where the issue is coming from. Where when you actually start reading the Bible, nobody believes in God anymore. Now everybody start asking questions: is that book real and whatnot? Well, it can't be realer than that. That book is really real, and that's the reason why everybody is actually kind of astonished and kind of lost when you start reading that book. Is because we never been taught the book since we actually came in that side of America. After the transatlantic slave trade, we used to know our God very well, and that's part of the curses as well. We would actually forget who we are. So for today, my Akim and Akyat. We're gonna go with the scriptures. And some people, of course, they get offended when they see that in the Bible and whatnot, when it comes to a man having multiple wives, but it's all biblical and it's allowed by the Most High, as we're going to see here in the scriptures, not my words, not yours, nobody else but the Most High. If you actually have something against it, take it up with the Most High. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Just give me 1 second. There you go. Just take a sip of that. All right. So at the end of the day, let's discuss this specific topic right here, which is multiple wives in the Bible. And I know you guys are dying to see if the New Testament and whatnot, whatever doctrine, whatever like breakdown you heard, that the law has changed and now you no longer can do it. Whoopty whoop whoop. We'll figure it out all in the scriptures. If it is, you'll see it. If it's not, it is what it is, right? So let's get it started with first and foremost. We're going to start at the beginning, right? What other place to start than the beginning of all things? So which one is that one? That's Judges. That's Genesis. Yeah, we can go to the book of Genesis. In the book of Genesis, we can start with, matter of fact, I have it right here. Let's start with the book of Genesis 16 and verse 3, right? Right from the get-go, patriarch Abraham, right, and Agar, just to show you that back then, the state of mind of woman is totally different than woman nowadays, right? But speaking of that, women nowadays, you actually don't understand. Here's a difference between like with whatever society is trying to push on us nowadays and like the way they actually engineer, they push their doctrine to like the media, TV, they control them all, like those SOS, the fake Jews and whatnot. So what happened to the woman nowadays, what you guys fail to understand is that you're no longer a woman. You haven't been actually raised to be what the Bible said a woman should be. You actually have been taught to be exactly what you have right here in 2 Ezra 5 and 8. There shall be a confusion also in many places, and the fire shall be oft sent out again. And the wild beasts shall change their places, and menstruous women shall bring forth monsters. So you are a menstruous woman. So you're basically raising monsters. So you're basically not a woman anymore. You're an abomination. You're a total catastrophe right now. And that's what the society trying to push. That's the reason why the woman, they mate with other, they go with other women, which is like an abomination to the Most High, and it's anti-life. You cannot bring forth life with two women, cannot bring forth life with two men. That's basically what's going on right now. So two women, yeah, and I do love my woman, my Israelite woman. By the way, um, all nothing but love, and I can only actually give you props for any woman that are women that's still doing what they're supposed to do, because there's still some good women, of course, don't get me wrong. For those that doing what it takes, doing what it's supposed to be done, and actually taking care of your husband and really like a virtuous woman, for those women, congrats, bravo, don't change, you got it right. For most of the other sisters that follow the trend, what's going on TV, drop it like it's hot, don't drop it like it's hot, hold it like it's cold, and to shake that thing, make it rain, and all that stuff. I'm an independent lady, all that madness that you actually go by right now. You want to be doing what you want to do, you don't need a man and whatnot. Matter of fact, here's what the Most High says about these women, right? So you have 2 Ezra right here. So let's go to, we'll go inside, right? In the GNT, right? So the Most High God, you hear things sometimes, you think it's like actually it's on TV, and these guys are actually really gross, and they actually have a foul mouth. They have they're really vulgar and whatnot. So let's see what the Most High says about women that actually think they're independent and they can do their own thing and whatnot. So let's go to Cyrac. And I want to give it to you in a specific version because some version they actually modify it to soften the blow. So ain't gonna soften the blow right here. We're gonna give it to you like it is. We're gonna give it to you raw and uncut. You see, we're gonna give it to you in the GNT, right? Check this out. Sirach 26, verse 25. Is it this one? No, it's not this one. 26, verse 25. 26, verse 25. GNT. My bad, guys. 26, verse 25. You see, they cut some verses, they removed it as we actually were about to get that verse, but I know I'm gonna find it. You see, they try to actually suppress the word, right? They're removing verses and whatnot. This is a new style. That's what they've been doing like lately. And we just got a proof of it. Yeah, the GNT is no longer here. That's funny. Let me see. It goes, you see, it goes from 18 to 28. 25, they just cut it short. Try to remove the word. What are you gonna find it somewhere, somehow? Let me see, let me see. Let's go to Bible. Let me see. 26, 25. They really removed it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, you see, guys, this word cuts so much, they don't know what to do with themselves. But at the end of the day, I did the other day. I have a link. I'll find it some other time. Let me see. 26, 27. GMT. All right. Let me see if I can find it right here. It's real funny. I really want to try to find it, guys, because it's amazing. It's amazing. I'll lie you not, man. You can see it for yourself. The verses are being taken away. The word is cutting them. Let me see. Let me see. All right, 26. You see, yeah, they really cut it. 18, it goes to 28. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But at the end of the day, so let's read it with the new version or whatever they're trying to actually make you believe. Now that you know, as you can see, how bad it's becoming now. But at the end of the day, there you go. So it's right here. It's an unruly wife, so a woman that actually thinking she's independent, doesn't need a man and whatnot, will be thought of as a dog. But in the real version, it's an unruly wife will be thought of as a bitch. Yes, I said it. The word bitch is directly, it's in the Bible. And the Most High God is the one saying it. Actually, I just found it right here. There you go. This version has it. The self-willed woman is a bitch. Lie you not. You got it right here. Beautiful. I had to find it. So you see in the GNT Good News Translation 26, even if actually they removed it from some at some places, but you got it right here. The self-willed woman is a what? Woo! For all the women, the independent ladies, that's what you got. Give me 1 second, guys. My apologies, guys. I had to go get something. But at the end of the day, just give me 1 second. Yeah. So we, you can see it for yourself, guys, right here. So right here at Kingdoms of Kings, if you didn't know, that is in the Bible in the GNT version. That was the original version because it's actually the female dog is what? Right here. And you have it, right? So you know what the Most High thinks of you. All the women who thinks they're independent. If you're self-willed, you are a bitch word of the Most High God. So you are a bitch, right? I didn't say it. I'm the one. I didn't say it. The Most High God said it. But a woman with a sense of decency honors the Lord, right? So if you want to honor the Lord, you have some decency, have some decorum, you know. So then you have it. And also, like in the last video, I know we talked about like a marriage and whatnot. So speaking of marriage, one thing also was the law when the Most High Yahushua came back on this earth. We saw on the why my keyboard keeps doing this, right? Deuteronomy 24. We saw that on Matthew 19, verse 3 to 10, that we're not supposed to actually have any divorce at first. So here's what was actually given by Moses in case to divorce, right? We're going to check both of them, right? So we're going to go here, Matthew. Oh, my keyboard keep doing that too, man. Press one, press two at the same time, right? Right? Okay. So you see one. Here's what version I should take. There you go. Deuteronomy 24, right? So if you go to King James right here, when a man had taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass, my bad, guys. Sorry about that. There you go. Right? When a man had taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes. So that means the man doesn't like her anymore. He just actually despise her, whatever reason, because he had found some uncleanness in her. So she's unclean. So like sexual immorality and whatnot. Then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand and send her out of his house. Right? So that's the bill of divorcement. That's the stipulation of it. Right? And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. So that's basically what we had when Moses not only gave us permission to actually give a woman a bill of divorce, but she could go get another man and actually would marry another man, right? So actually the divorce, then you get a new husband, right? Then we keep on going. And if the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement. So the second husband hate her as well and actually divorce her, second divorce, and give it in her hand and send her out of his house. Or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife. So the latter husband died or divorced her. So if it dies, actually at the end of the day, you're not bound by the law anymore, as we actually will see in another precept, right? But actually, matter of fact, we'll get it right now. We'll go to Romans 7. Right? Know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law. So, of course, anybody that knows the law, that basically they should know about that law, or that the law had dominion over a man as long as he lived. For the woman which had an husband is bound by the law to her husband so long as he lived. But if the husband be dead, she is loosed from the law of her husband. So when the husband dies, usually you're supposed to be free from your marriage, from that man, your ex-husband, a widow, so you can actually remarry with somebody else. However, was it this one? So actually the second husband can either divorce that woman or if he dies and whatnot, so and sends her out of his house, or if the latter husband dies, who took her as his wife, then the law back then, her former husband, so the first husband which sent her away, may not take her again, right? So the first husband cannot take her back, even if actually the second husband died, or if it divorces her. Actually, if you had it at first, you divorced her once and she took another man, you cannot take her back. And that was the law actually under Moses and whatnot. And take her again to be his wife. After that, she is defiled, for that is abomination before the Lord, and thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. So that was an abomination for the Lord to do that, right? And then when Yahushua came back, he put everything back in order, like what it was supposed to be at first. So the only reason why you could actually divorce your wife was only for sexual immoralities. However, you could not take any other man, regardless if your husband was alive or if your husband died, right? So 19:3, the Pharisees came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, it is lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause. And he answered and said unto them, have ye not read that he which have them at the beginning made them male and female, which is like Genesis 1:27, and said, for this cause shall a man live, father and mother, and said, for this cause shall a man live, father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain two shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are no more twain, no more two, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, that no man put asunder. They said unto him, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away, which we actually just read? He said unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your heart, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning it was not so. So at first was not the case. And I say unto you, so now what actually is basically the reality of things, put things back in perspective, like what it was at first. And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, the only reason why you can put away your wife, and shall marry another, commit adultery. and whoso married her, which is put away, do commit adultery. So basically now, if actually you have a first husband put you away, and even if you're divorced, if you take another man, this is a sin. So that was the law at first, right? So that's actually back when Yahushua came back on the scene. So that's basically the law now. So that's what it is. So if you're a wife, if you're a woman, you better take your husband carefully because you're bound to that man forever. There's no you marry that man, divorce, Christianity, and whatever people are pushing out there. You're actually supposed to be only with one man. A woman is actually made to be only with one man all her life. So if you take that man, you're bound to that man. You cannot divorce the man. First of all, the only way you can divorce that man is like actually fornication, and that's a sin. And then after that, like it's a total different story. And if you actually do divorce that man for any other reason whatsoever, you cannot take another man. So, and I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another. So if the wife marries somebody else, committed adultery. And whoso married her is put away. Whoso married her, which is put away, doth commit adultery as well. So that's basically it. And then you have it. So that's the law. So that's what it is now, and that's what it was at first. And on the first covenant, we had like a little, like Moses actually softened it because of the hardness of their heart. So that's actually the part that was technically like modified somehow, and it came back to his original state when Yahushua came back. That you have right now. So speaking of that, you also have what we call polygyny in the Bible. So a lot of people actually been asking about that. We go see it in the Bible. What does God say about it? So just give me 1 second. What does the Most High say about it? Salakia. Back at it again, trying to do a bunch of things at the same time. Just, yeah. Okay, never mind. All right. So we're going to start right from the get-go in the book of Genesis, chapter 16 and verse 3. So like I was saying, like for a woman, that was actually what we call that was a reproach for a woman that to actually have a child for a man, raising child to a man, if she was barren and whatnot. So I'll give you an example of right here, one of the patriarchs, Abraham, the first one, right from the get-go. And Sarah said unto Abraham, just to show you that back then the state of mind of woman was totally different. That was Sarai, right? That was her name at first, then she changed it to Sarah and whatnot. But for the idea right here is to show you that women used to actually give other women to their husband when they could actually raise kids to them, just to actually don't have the shame of not actually doing like what is a woman is supposed to do when she marries a man, which is raising child unto that man, having child for that man, and having babies, and why not multiple babies. And Sarah, well, we'll start at the beginning, like 16 and verse 1. Now Sarah, Abraham's wife, bare him no children, and she had an handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, behold now, the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. So that's her telling Abram to go into her maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. So actually, technically, the children will be Hagar's, but that will be kind of her children as well. And that's a way for a woman to have babies as well. In the case that you see, like Sarah, she was barren and whatnot, but she's the one that give the other woman to Abraham, because that was like a Hebraic culture back then. That was just like normal to women back then. That wasn't like something like out of the ordinary and whatnot. The woman didn't have like all that brainwash of the society that's actually pushing on you guys nowadays. So that's just like how it is. And the woman, they actually were okay with that. No issue. That wasn't even a problem. As you can see and as you can read for yourself. The obtained children by her. And Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarah. And Sarah, Abraham's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. So once again, you see, as soon as she gave Hagar to at that time his name was Abram still, that was his wife. So Abram had two wives at the same time. Hagar was his wife, and Sarah was his wife. And he had the baby Ishmael. That's another topic. But at the end of the day, she ended up give birth to Ishmael and had a baby with Abram. So that was his wife as well. So that was like his wife, and he had Sarah, and we know that Sarah had Isaac right after. So one perfect example, polygyny in the Bible with the patriarch Abram, and following with the other patriarch as well, we're going to see that Israel itself has been built on what we call polygyny. So that's Genesis 29. We're going to start at yeah, so that's Laban. So when Isaac went and wanted to have Rachel, we're going to start at 16. And Laban had two daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. And Laban said, it is better that I give her to thee than that I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her. And Jacob said unto Laban, give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, and brought her to him. And he went in unto her. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah, his maid, for an handmaid. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, what is this thou hast done unto me? Did not I serve with thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me? And Laban said, it must not be done so. It must not be so done in our country, to give to the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill our week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years. Fulfill our week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years. So they kind of beguiled Isaac for his second wife, Jacob. I mean, for his wife, he wanted Rachel. And at the end of the day, Rachel was younger than Leah. So when the 7 years was done, when he served the 7 years, he gave him Leah, and he had to actually work another 7 years to get Rachel. But as you can tell, the father and the family and the woman, they were all aware, and nobody actually had anything against it. And you'll see later on as well that the Most High didn't have anything against it as well. And that was just a custom, something like really ordinary in the Hebraic culture right from the get-go. So if we go right here, just to show you fast, that was chapter 29. So that's how he got both sisters and whatnot. But if you go like the verse 32, Genesis 32 and 22, and he rose up that night and took his 2 wives. So that's 2 women at the same time. And his 2 women servants, because those were his wives as well, because like each of his wives had a servant, and both of them were also his servants. So which all those 4 women ended up being like altogether the 12th tribe of Israel and whatnot. I believe Rachel had 2 of them, which is like Joseph and Benjamin, the youngest one. And Leah is the one that had the most. I believe she had 6 out of the 12. And the other 2, the maidservant, they had 2 each. So all of them combined together, and that was the 12 tribes of Israel. So you see like the 12 tribes were built on polygyny. Abraham as well. Isaac is the only one who only had 1 wife. So at the end of the day, there's no problem if you only have 1. You can have 1, and you can also have multiple wives. And you'll see some men didn't have any. You can also have 0. But it is not really good for a man to be alone, as like we saw yesterday, like in the last video, my man, on what you call that, marriage. But that was just a regular thing. So nothing special about it. Everybody knew that was the custom for different culture at the end of the day, because Laban was actually the uncle of part of the family. and everybody knew about it. That's all I'm saying. Like everybody knew about it. So that's from patriarch, right? For Abraham and Isaac. Or just if you just bear with me. All right, guys. So that's for Isaac. Also had two wives. Actually, matter of fact, four for Isaac. So that Abraham had the same. And if we go all throughout the Bible, I'll give you like a couple of precepts to that. Just polygyny to drive the point home. You'll see that's so at 24 and 3. And Jehoiada took him to have, like actually Joash was one of the king of Israel when actually at the time after David and whatnot. So Joash was one of the king, and Jehoiada was one of the priests, a very, very, very good priest that actually had no reproach whatsoever, was serving the Lord, was one of those humble priests with no blemish and whatnot, was following the law, statute, and commandment. So that was one of the righteous ones, because we had some wicked priests as well, but Jehoiada was one of the righteous priests, and he was actually the priest when that king named Joash was there on the throne, which was the youngest king that we had. Joash was 7 years old when he began to reign. Like if you actually read the story whatsoever, there was like a coup in the all the kings, like Atalia, one of the wicked women, she killed all the newborn babies of actually the one of the kings and whatnot, and they end up hiding Joash, and after that he got into rulership. They actually crowned him as the king, and after like actually started ruling at 7 years old, and Joash did that which was right in the sight of the Lord all the days of Jehoiada the priest, and Jehoiada took for him two wives. So that was a righteous priest. So if that wasn't a thing, if actually that was like a sin to have like multiple wives at the same time, a priest would never do that. And on top of that, a righteous priest, right? Two wives, and he begat sons and daughters. So the priest took him two wives, right? So as you can see, so that was just the regular things all throughout the Bible. My bad, guys. Let's get back to screen. All throughout the Bible, right? So that's Jehoiada, and you also had right here. Which one is it? Chapter 1 and one another priest once again. Now there was a certain man. Is it that one for Samuel? Yes. Now there was a certain man of Ramah Zophim of Mount Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Eliu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. And he had two wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. And this man went up out of the city yearly to worship and to sacrifice unto the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. And the two sons of Eli, Ophni and Phinehas, the priests of the Lord, were there. So basically, the priest himself is the one that's going to give the blessing to the woman, to Hannah that didn't get any baby, to get child with that man that had two wives. So if that was like unlawful to have actually two wives, the priest would never give you his blessing. And when the time was that, well, just read it fast for you guys, can read the rest. And when the time was that Elkanah offered, he gave to Peninnah, his wife, and to all her sons and her daughter portions. But unto Hannah, he gave a worthy portion, for he loved Hannah, but the Lord had shut up her womb. And her adversary also provoked her sore, for to make her fret, because the Lord had shut up her womb. And as he did so year by year, when she went up to the house of the Lord, so she provoked her. Therefore she wept and did not eat. Then said Elkanah, her husband, to her, Anna, why weepest thou? And why eatest thou not? And why is thy heart grieved? Am not I better to thee than 10 sons? So Anna rose up after they had eaten. Anna rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh, and after they had drunk. Now Eli the priest sat upon a seat by a post of the temple of the Lord. So Eli is the priest, right? And she was in the bitterness of soul and prayed unto the Lord and wept sore. And she vowed a vow and say, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thine handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thine handmaid, but will give unto thine handmaid a man child, then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. So it shall be a Nazarite, right? There you go, my bad guy. And it came to pass as she continued praying before the Lord that Eli marked her mouth. Now Anna, she spake in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she had been drunken. And Eli said unto her, How long wilt thou be drunken? Put away thy wine from thee. And Anna answered and said, No, my lord, I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Count not thine handmaid for a daughter of Belial, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief have I spoken hitherto. Then Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou hast asked of him. And she said, Let thine handmaid find grace in thy sight. So the woman went her way and did eat, and her countenance was no more sad. And they rose up in the morning early and worshipped before the Lord and returned and came to their house, to Ramah. And Elkanah knew Anna his wife, and the Lord remembered her. Wherefore it came to pass, when the time was come about after Anna had conceived, that she bare a son, and called his name Samuel, saying, Because I have asked him of the Lord. And as we actually read the rest of the story, you see that Samuel was one of the priests, one of the major priests of Israel, which was like a judge, basically. After all the judges that we had in Israel, Samuel was kind of another judge and was a righteous one. And that's the Most High God answering the prayer of a woman, of a man with multiple wives. So if the Most High God wasn't with it, she would have never get her prayer answered. And the priest actually blessed her for it. So as you can see, that was basically again and again and again, multiple wives and whatnot was allowed back then. Just give me 1 second, guys. No, 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 no. Now they're gonna get it. They're gonna get it. They're gonna get it. They're gonna get it, guys. Just give me 1 second. How about y'all? Throat was dry. As you can see, once again, multiple wives, prayer answered by the Most High God and blessed by the priest. And you also have right here, 2 Samuel 5. That's David, right? Right here, you got 2 Samuel 5:13. And David took him more concubines and wives out of Jerusalem after he was come from Hebron, and there were yet sons and daughters born to David. So everybody knows about the patriarch David. David has actually multiple wives. And as you can see here, if we can go on First Kings, if that was unlawful, then David would have been a sinner for that matter. But as you can see, because David did, 1 King 15:5, because David did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord and turned not aside from anything that he commanded in all the days of his life, save only in the matter of Uriah the Hittite. Those that knows the story, for everybody that knows the story, David actually committed adultery and whatnot with Bathsheba, the wife of the Hittite, the Uriah, and that was his sin basically that everybody knows about David. And he took his wife and killed him also. So the Mosai was actually displeased with that. But to see that was his holy sin. But having multiple wives wasn't a sin for David. Matter of fact, here Right. Mm. And go also 2 Samuel 1 for David. So here you see, like, it came even to pass the third day that behold, the men came out of the camp from Saul with his clothes rent and heard. Which is this one? Samuel. Let me see. Yes, right here. 2 Samuel 2 and 2. So David went up thither, and his 2 wives also, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail Nabal's wife, the Carmelite. So you see, he already had 2 wives, and then David later on, you see, 2 Samuel 5 and 13. And David took him more concubines and wives out of Jerusalem after he was come from Hebron, and there were yet sons and daughters born to David. So even after, like, he already had 2 wives, and he went and took more concubines, more wives, and whatnot, and there was no sin actually assigned or imputed to David for that matter. The only sin that he committed, like I said once again, was adultery with Bathsheba, which was basically ended up being the mother of Solomon. So again and again, you can see polygyny in the Bible. And speaking of David, you see right here, even more. There's another one, which is, which one is it? 2 Samuel 12. I believe so. 2 Samuel 12 and 8. And I gave thee, that's the Most High speaking. And Nathan said to David, thou art the man, thus said the Lord God of Israel. I anointed thee king over Israel, and I delivered thee out of the hand of Saul. And I gave thee thy master's house. So that's basically the prophet speaking the word of the Most High. Thus said the Lord. So that's the Most High who gave him his master's house. And thy master's wives into thy bosom, and gave thee the house of Israel and of Judah. And if that had been too little, so that means if that wasn't enough, not only I gave you plenty wives, but if that wasn't enough, I would moreover have given unto thee such and such things. So just to show you the Most High would give him even more wife if he wanted more than that. So once again, so of course, like you can see, like having multiple wives, the main thing is that some people try to say that now New Testament and all that crap, all that madness, it's no longer valid. The thing is, when the Yahushua came in, what he had to modify, he explained it. What he actually was alone, what it was changed, got back to this original state, he actually mentioned it. Because we actually have to listen to Yahushua, but you don't have anything except what I showed you before regarding divorce. Divorce doesn't have nothing to do in terms of having multiple wives. You can actually have the multiple wives and still divorce and whatnot. That's 2 different topics. So we see the divorce, you actually put it back to where it was supposed to be at first, right? But when it comes to actually multiple wives, we had the laws that was there. So are there anybody to find any of these laws that's been modified, or Yahushua said that this is no longer the case, just like for the divorce? I'll save you the trouble, you can't find it. So that means all those laws are still in effect, they're still valid, and nothing changed to it. Because just like Yahushua said, if we can go in Matthew 5 and 17. Why the end keeps popping up? That's crazy, man. Matthew 5 and 17, right? Take not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass. We still have heaven, we still have earth. So until it pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till it all be fulfilled. And it's not the case, not been fulfilled yet. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. but whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So you see, the law hasn't changed when he came on the scene. So everything that you had as a law. So we'll see a few of them when it comes to have multiple wives. You have right here, it's 2 Samuel 12, Samuel 5. That was 1 Samuel, right? So Deuteronomy 21 and 10. Here's one of the law, right? 10 and 21 and 15, right? If a man have two wives, one beloved and another hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, and if the firstborn son be hers that was hated, then it shall be, when he make his sons to inherit that which he had, that he may not make the son of the beloved firstborn before the son of the hated, which is indeed the firstborn. But he shall acknowledge the son of the hated for the firstborn by giving him a double portion of all that he had, for he is the beginning of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. So as you can see, the right of the firstborn is to have a double portion. So regardless, like if you have a wife that he doesn't love, and the one that he loves is the one that has actually another child by him, the firstborn, the first son, it's always about the son, the male, of the first one that is born, period. If he has two wives, the one that is born first from this man is the one that has the double portion for the inheritance. So that was a law, and this law hasn't changed, and that's a law for multiple wives, as you can see. That's one of them. You also have Deuteronomy 25 and 5. If brethren dwell together and one of them die and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. So not only she cannot marry anybody else from many other tribes, forget about another nation that is actually a sin and whatnot, but like any other tribes, period, she cannot actually, even back then at that time, like I was saying before, they act like if the husband dies, she could technically marry somebody else and whatnot because she actually not bound by the law anymore. But in that case, if she didn't actually have any child with that man, she has to stay in the same family and not marry without unto a stranger. She has to stay in the same family, and her husband's brother shall go in unto her. So that was a law, and that's still a law. So the brothers has to raise kids unto that wife that actually the wife of the brother. And at the end of the day, even if the brothers are married and whatnot, even if they have other wives, they have to actually take her as a wife as well to raise kids unto her and take her to him to wife, right? And perform the duty of an husband's brother unto her. So even if those men already had their own wives and whatnot, as soon as the brother dies, if she actually didn't get any kid with that man, they have to perform the duty of an husband and bring a child unto her. So that's just another law once again. And it shall be that the firstborn which she bared shall succeed in the name of his brother, which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. So when the firstborn is born, he has to have the same name as the father that died. So the name of the father shall remain. So that's another law that's in Israel that never changed as well, which shows you polygyny one more time. And again, another law. You have yes, chapter 18 and 18. Leviticus, my bad. Leviticus chapter 18 and 18. You have neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister to vex her. Well, we'll start at 17. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter, neither shalt thou take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness, for they are her near kinswoman, it is wickedness. Neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister. So if you have a woman, you cannot take her sister as a wife. Just to show you that actually that cannot be when she's dead, right? Because it says right after to vex her. So if you vex a sister, that means you're taking her sister as a wife at the same time to uncover her nakedness beside the other in her lifetime, as you can see. But that's the law. So while she's alive, you can showing you that you can marry two women, but you cannot marry two sisters. And that's once again multiple wives. That's another law that we have in Israel, right? So I'll give you a few other examples again of 21. Yes, this one was, Yeah, that's 3150. Yeah, this one's no. Yeah, you don't need that one. You don't need that. Judges, right? Book of Judges. When we used to go to war, like I was saying before, we used to go in the time of Judges. Like you had one of the judge was the Gideon, right? And Gideon, if you go like 8 and 30, you can see here. And Gideon was like very like a very good judge and whatnot, was walking in all his ways, like after the Most High was doing what it's supposed to. That's the reason why he was a judge in Israel and whatnot. And Gideon had 60 and 10 sons of his body begotten, for he had many wives. So in a lifetime, for you to have 70 sons, three score means every score is 20. So three score is 60 and 10 sons, so that's 70 of his body begotten, for he had many wives. So he had multiple wives, so that's the reason why he had 70 sons. At the end of the day, we all actually, it's the Most High plans that actually going to prevail all the time. And the Most High is a smart man. When you think of it, if you're one man, if you actually need to build an army, what is faster, right? If you have one woman and multiple men, your army will be built in like 1,000 years. That's if you get to build an army. Because at the end of the day, a woman, as soon as she's pregnant, she cannot not produce any baby whatsoever for at least a year, 9 months at the least, right? So for that baby to come out. And right after, she gonna technically not have sex, like right after like she got the baby. So technically a year apart. So unless you got like 5 kids at the same time, five children, because kids is like baby goats, like it's for goats, 5 children at the same time, every single time she bears, then maybe. But you know that's almost impossible. Nothing is impossible for the Most High, but you know what I'm saying, right? So she would have to have like multiple babies every single time. And if you take one man alone and having multiple wives, you have an army in a second. Because that man can actually get all these women pregnant one after the other. You could get like a woman like every single day of his life, or 3, 4, 5 women, as long as he can actually be erected, right? Pause if you have any children at home and whatnot, but not to be too graphic. You could have actually 5, 10 women every single day, get them all pregnant, and it could still keep on going, keep getting babies till the end of time. Because contrary also to women, menopause after like a 50 more or less for a woman, you cannot have any more child. But for a man can go all the way, as you can see, like our father, like Abraham, he was like 137 something and still having baby. He was 100 years old when he had baby with Sarah. The only problem was Sarah's barren. So for a man, you can have baby like until you die. So there's a reason why the Most High made it like that. So the man can keep producing babies non-stop. And the woman, she has menopause. There's a reason why. She stops having babies after a certain age, because actually her body is becoming weaker as well. So it might be more dangerous and whatnot. But even though, if the Most High wanted it to happen, he still can make it happen, like in the case of Sarah, right? She was like, when she had the baby, she was 90 years old, if I remember correctly, right? So Gideon had 60 and 10 sons of his body begotten, for he had many wives. So another example of multiple wives. And those are all like righteous men, actually men of the Lord. And you can see they all had multiple wives, and the Most High never punished them for that, never told them anything about for that. And the Most High actually gave them those wives to add to it. And to keep on going, you also had when we used to go to war. I'll give you another example. Go back to Judges 5:30. When we used to go to war, like I was saying, when we would go like in the land that are far off Israel, we used to actually take the spoil, like all the virgin women. And you see in the Judges 5:30, you see here, right after going from war, there's a lady who says, have they not divided the prey? To every man a damsel or two. So every man, when they took the spoil, every man took actually 1 or 2 wives, 2 women from the other nations and whatnot. And that was just a regular thing as well. So then you have it, and you also have What was this one? No, this one was nothing. Yeah, we saw this one. Direct 25 counted as a bitch and whatnot. So yeah, we had it. Like we had the Matthew, we had divorce thing. So as you can see, we also have what you call that? We also have like I was saying the other day also, the Most High will never compare something bad with the kingdom of heaven and whatnot. And you see, we also like I'll take the one in Isaiah first. The Most High God also have multiple wives, which is basically Israel and whatnot. So you see Isaiah 54 and 5. For thy maker is thine husband, the Lord of hosts is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, the God of the whole earth, shall you be called. And if you see if those two wives are, they go in Ezekiel 16. That two number. What keeps doing this? That's kind of funny though. Ezekiel 16. Just give me 1 second just to find it. Yeah, so you see, so now like the Most High is actually comparing like Israel as like two sisters and whatnot, and all the fornication and the harlotry that Israel was doing at that time. And as you can see here, you can see that the Most High is comparing both of them as two of his wives. So that's like two of them, Israel, the northern and the southern kingdom. But thou didst trust in thine whole beauty and played the harlot because of thy renown, and pours out thy fornications on every one that passed by, as it was. And of thy garments thou didst take, and deckest thy deckest thy high places with divers colors, and playedst the harlot thereupon. The like things shall not come, neither shall it be so. Thou hast also taken thy fair jewels and of my gold and of my silver, which I have given thee, and madest to thyself images of men, and did commit order with them. And so that's the two sisters. And just give me 1 second. Let me see where he's actually calling them like his wives and whatnot. Mm, there you go. 1632. But as a wife that committed adultery, which taketh strangers instead of her husband, they give gifts to all whores, but thou givest thy gifts to all thy lovers, and hires them, that they may come unto thee on every side of thy whoredom. And the contrary is in thee from other women in thy whoredoms, whereas one followed thee to commit whoredoms, and in that thou givest a reward, and no reward is given unto thee. Therefore thou art contrary. Wherefore, O harlot, hear the word of the Lord. Thus said the Lord God, because thy filthiness was poured out, and thy nakedness discovered to thy whoredoms, with thy lovers, and with all the idols of thy abominations, and by the blood of thy children, which thou didst give unto them. Behold, therefore I will gather all thy lovers, which whom thou hast taken pleasure, and all them that thou hast loved, with all them that thou hast hated. I will even gather them round about against thee, and will discover thy nakedness unto them, that they may see all thy nakedness. And I will judge thee as women that break wedlock and shed blood are judged, and will give thee blood in fury and jealousy. And I will also give thee into their hand, and they shall throw down thy eminent place, and shall break down thy high places. They shall strip thee also of thy clothes, and shall take thy fair jewels, and leave thee naked and bare. So that's basically Israel committing adultery against the Most High. It's two wives, which is like Israel and the southern kingdom, the northern and the southern kingdom. So will I make my fury toward thee to rest, and my jealousy shall depart from thee, and I will be quiet and will be no more angry. Because I don't remember this. Just want to see. There's one verse exactly. Yeah, there you go. Because thou art thy mother's daughter, that loaded her husband and her children, and thou art the sister of thy sisters, which loaded their husband and their children. Your mother was an Hittite, and your father was an Amorite. And thine elder sister is Samaria. She and her daughters that dwell at thy left hand, and thy younger sister that dwell at thy right hand is Sodom and her daughters. So basically, that's showing you like there's two sisters, and those are two sisters. They're both wives of the Most High. So that's once again polygyny with the Most High. So you wouldn't say that the Most High would be a sinner. So contrary to that, as you can see, even the Most High God compare Israel as his two wives. So you have it there. And if you actually go for a last one, that we actually will close that out to drive the point home. I'm writing marriage. It's not marriage, it's Matthew. Matthew. Which Matthew? Matthew. What is it again? That's Matthew 25. Yes, indeed. Matthew 25, guys, right? Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, the kingdom of heaven likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. Who's the bridegroom? Yahushua. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. So you see, it's compared to actually 10 virgins going to meet the bridegroom, which is Yahushai. And to drive the point home with the last one that just came to mind right now, in Matthew 22, I believe it's 24, the same law that we saw in Deuteronomy 25 and 5, to raise children unto your brothers and whatnot when the brother is dead and they didn't have time to have a child. His wife did actually get a child from him. So the brother, 22, 24, so you'll see the Pharisees, the Sadducees, who didn't believe in the resurrection, are asking Yahushua about that same law. And we'll see if Yahushua said the law is different now, we have to change it and whatnot. So as you can see here, 22, when they had heard these words, they marveled and left him and went their way. The same day came to him the Sadducees, which say that there is no resurrection. So one of the beliefs of the Sadducees is that they didn't believe in the resurrection, right? And asked him, saying, Master, Moses said, if a man die having no children, his brother shall marry his wife and raise up seed unto his brother. Then we saw that law in Deuteronomy, like I was saying before. Now there were with us 7 brethren. And the first, when he had married a wife, deceased, and having no issue, left his wife unto his brother. Likewise, the second also, and the third unto the 7th. And last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, the resurrection, whose wife shall she be of the 7? For they all had her. Jesus answered and said unto them, Ye do err, not knowing the scriptures nor the power of God. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as the angel of God in heaven. But as touching the resurrection of the dead, have you not read that which was spoken unto you by God, saying, I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob? God is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. As you can see here, Yahushua didn't say anything about changing it. And when the multitude heard this, they were astonished at his doctrine. So he didn't remove that law. He didn't say that the law has changed and whatnot. He just actually explained it in detail and whatnot and clarified it to them. Now, as you can see, this hasn't changed. And to be fair with you, I know there's other verses, but I'll leave you guys on this one, saying about the bishop and whatnot. One thing I can say about the bishop, but first of all, that's Paul. I know you guys like to run to Paul, but we'll go on other videos to explain it in detail. But for the bishops and whatnot, as you can tell, that has been sent to specific places, because once again, Paul, those were all epistles, and they were all epistles directed to specific places. Why did Paul write one book of Paul and send it to every single places? Because every single places, they have specification for each places in order to get back in order and to slowly get to the truth of the Most High, because they were all Gentiles, right? And that's another topic as well. Some people like still believe that those Gentiles were from the other nations. Kingdom of Kings, that's not the case. You have to get the proper understanding of things in context and whatnot. and we'll prove it. We'll back it up with precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line. But the bishops and whatnot, not only it's only directed to certain church specific epistles that Paul sent with Titus and I believe Timothy and whatnot, and also bishops is something that was for the early church, and that was specific to the location where they were at that time. But if you look at it, I'll just leave you with that last verse. Let that marinate. Right? So from the get-go, Exodus 19, we'll start with that one. Exodus 19 and 5. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine, right? I did Exodus 19. Yeah, it's Exodus 19. Yeah, all the kingdom of the earth is mine, right? And he shall be unto me a kingdom of priests. So what the Most High did from the get-go, it's priests. He didn't do any bishops. He didn't do no deacons. None of this. This was just basically the situation, a specific time frame, and a specific people, specific location, and like Paul was like a doctor to all these locations. You had to prescribe things in accordance to whatever was going on to that specific location. So that's why you can see the bishop and whatnot. And at the end of the day, the Most High never talked about bishops. The Most High, it's all about kings and priests, right? So all the way to the end, if you go Revelation 1, this is real bad. I think my keyboard's going crazy. Revelation 1. You see Revelation 1 and 5. You got that right here. And from Jesus Christ, who is the faithful witness and the first begotten of the dead, and the prince of the kings of the earth, unto him that loved us and washed us from our sins in his own blood, and had made us kings and priests. No bishops, no deacons, priests unto God and his Father. To him be the glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen. And we also have the laws for the priest, so we know exactly what the priest is supposed to do. And there's no such thing as the priest cannot have multiple wives, as you can tell. And you can see the same thing in 1 Peter. So that never changed from the beginning all the way to the end. From Genesis to Revelation, we're supposed to be a kingdom of priests. And 1 Peter 2 and 9. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, not bishophood or deaconhood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should shew forth the praises of him who had called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. So once again, all you can see here, it's all polygyny. The Most High never had any issues with it. If you're mad, if you actually don't accept it, or if you like being with men, woman with woman, and all that madness, if you like to sleep with dogs and whatnot, take it to the Most High. And here we're going to follow what the Most High says. We're going to still keep the law, statute, and the commandments. Stay safe. You guys keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Don't believe the hype. The Most High God loves you guys. Shalom, y'all, and see you guys in the next video. All right, guys. Have yourself a good one.